What is good, people? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back. It is time for a new transfer talk, and we have a few updates to discuss, both incomings and potential outgoings. And Betis, you trying to raid Leeds United again? Well, you're not trying. It looks like you're going to. But yeah, listen, people, we're going to speak about that. Also, rival watch in terms of our clubs that will be around us. Interesting things happening at Burnley, and I do want to speak about that at the end of the video. But first of all, it is the main event. It is Mateo Joseph, and by all accounts in Spain and Graham Bailey, it looks like Mateo Joseph will be leaving the football club on a permanent deal. And this is what Graham Bailey had to say. And this comes after reports from Spain suggested we were going to sell him for around 6.75 million, including a future 20% clause. That's obviously off the table now, but Graham Bailey says Leeds have agreed to let him leave. I'm told the overall deal could be around 10 million euros mark, which is around 8.5 million, including add-ons. There were a few teams keen, but the player made it clear he wanted Betis. So it's one of those where, like I've said about players that we want to sign, if they can just say, I want Leeds United only, it makes negotiations a lot easier, which you are just seeing here with Mateo Joseph, because now you can't go into a bidding war. The player's made it clear where he wants to go. And Leeds United, by all accounts, didn't want to sell. But this goes back to what I said in like the buy, keep, sell video and subsequent videos after. You don't get the choice sometimes. You don't get the choice with players, especially if they haven't been playing as much as they feel they could have played or would wish to have played. You don't get to decide that as a football club. Yes, they're under contract and you've got every right to keep them, but then you do nothing for harmony of the player, which then leaks into the squad. Not saying he would have had a mopey face, it would nothing like that, but you don't want to keep unhappy players around, especially if they don't feel they've got much of a future at the football club. And I said during the summer as well, I did have a feeling that Mateo wanted to return to Spain. I would have loved for him to go on loan back to La Liga, but by all accounts, he wants to leave permanently, and I get it. A lot of people say he didn't take all of his chances, and that's true in some cases. But also the opportunities did dry up, especially in the second half of the season. And when you think about some of the goal-bound runs that Peru was on and other players around him, where, if we mixed it up a bit, we could have possibly played two up front, and there was just no scope for any wiggle room in terms of the formation, then you can see why, frustration would have set in. But as he said in a recent interview, he understood why Peru was playing. But obviously for himself, he wishes he had more opportunities now. I do feel once, all the reports confirm that Firpo is staying this summer, that he and maybe a couple of others would have said, okay, it's time for me to seek pastures elsewhere. Now, we bought him for around 900,000. He's going for 8.5 initially, which is like 7.9 million. In terms of PSR. So, all good against the books. There you go, all good against the books. But we have undersold for sure. And people look at him now and say he's not worth this now, but that's short-sighted. It's about in a couple of years when you look back and you go, can't believe we only sold him for 8.5 million, because he's going to come good, especially going back to Spain. He's definitely going to come good. You can even at under 21 level, even though it's different, you can see he just moves freely. He moves freer with his Spanish compadres and everything else like that. He just looks like a different player. So, I wish him all the best. I do wish that we could have, just loaned him out, perfect world scenario. But when the player says, I want to leave permanently because he doesn't see a future here, I do think if he had a future here, like if it was said that he was going to play Premier League football, he would stay. I really do believe that. But I think the writing was on the wall once Firpo was confirmed as staying. So I wish Mateo all the best. We'll keep a lookout when this is officially confirmed. But I don't envision this going on too much longer, with the player definitely wanting to move. And speaking of Betis, Mark Rocker, Llorente, Mateo Joseph, well, Junior Firpo. I'm not going to spend too long on this one because I've already given an update on this one. This is just a further one. Junior Firpo has received formal proposal from Betis to rejoin the club, so he has now been made his contract offer according to Fabrizio, and he is their first choice, and they want him to return. And for me, this just makes sense anyway. It was kind of obvious back in January when when the reporters kept asking, are the contracts talks going on with Junior Daniel? Like they were like, nah. Daniel said the right things in terms of, we're concentrating on promotion now. But if you really want to re-sign a player, and if the player wants to stay, you can get things done. We've seen that previously. I think it was pretty obvious he was going to leave this summer, and a return to Betis makes all the sense in the world. But yeah, it's like a little Leeds reunion over in Betis. So if you ever find yourself out there, go and watch them play. Be like watching Leeds United of like 2022 or something like that. It's crazy over there. But yeah, Junior Firpo leaving. and it looks like he'll be going to Real Betis. I'll be glad when that one's over, by the way. We need to, move on from this one. But we're talking replacements for left backs. We've already been linked with Alex Moreno. That interest still stands. There's no update on that one. But we're also linked with Atletico Madrid, Reinildo Mandava, who's a Mozambique footballer, very tough tackler, loves to get physical, which is why I think the Premier League would suit him a bit as well. We're not the only ones after him. No, Sunderland, Man United, and Nottingham Forest are after him as well. And Forest can offer him European football. Don't know how much football he's going to get there with Alaena in his position, as we've seen with Alex Moreno, who's linked with us. Didn't get much game time at Forest because of Alaena, but it all depends on Mandava if he wants to come here. By all accounts, Leeds United want him in the squad, and I can definitely see that kind of thing happening in terms of Reinildo coming in and his versatility being a key factor. Never mind the left midfield thing. Not really. No, left back and centre back is where he'll shine. And if you've got that adaptability in a player on a free transfer with his experience, I think this is kind of like a no-brainer kind of thing. But you need an out-and-out, first choice. And for me, he wouldn't be first choice if with all things being equal. But no, Reinildo's a good solid talent. And will be an addition for anyone who gets him for a free transfer. So yeah, listen, I hope we roll through with this one and we keep an eye on this one as we go forward. But yeah, good signing for a free one. That's all I'll say. Good signing on a free. Someone who won't be free, but we did talk about him previously, is Mario Stroeykens. And this is just an update on him. Is the fee, because of his contract situation from Anderlecht, will be around £12 million, which is not bad at all. That is good value for a kid of this potential. I mentioned before, there's a lot of his game to develop, but for 12 million, you're cooking, and then you can kind of move out somebody from the club. Because you know what, for me, it's all well and good moving Mateo Joseph out. That's an easy one. That's an easy one to move out because he was already kind of on the outs anyway. I need to see someone who we know isn't going to be playing week in, week out in the Premier League. And I want to see some reports about them leaving, but we shall see. But yeah, Mario Stroeykens there, £12 million. That's a good deal to do, and we'll keep an eye on that. Somebody who doesn't look likely to come and who we've talked about before is George Petrovic. Chelsea have made him available for sale, but apparently Ellen Road isn't where he wants to go. He does not want to come to Leeds United, it seems. We're not his first choice. And also, Joe reports here about the long-standing image rights issue that could complicate a transfer. Nevertheless, the keeper is up for sale. And yeah, it's one of those where he hasn't actually been linked with Leeds. There's been more people talking about him, being a possibility. But he is for sale, but it does seem like we're not in the running for him. But still, as long as we're still in for Yahia Fofana, I'm good with it. But yeah, Petrovic would have been a nice addition, wouldn't he? But by all accounts, it looks like he's looking for a higher place in the league or somewhere else. And someone else that won't be coming, it seems, is a channel favorite, Josh Doig. It looks like Celtic want to sign him. But the thing is, Celtic want to sign him to be a backup to Kieran Tierney. Now, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch because I was looking at the Tierney thing, but I think I knew that he had a contract agreement with Celtic, which is why I never bothered mentioning him. But imagine if you could have got Tierney at Leeds. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, Josh Doig, it looks like he does want to move back to Scotland as well to go to Celtic, but man, he deserves to be better than a backup, man. He deserves to be better than that. But yeah, by all accounts, it looked like Celtic are very interested in him, and there's been no news on Leeds moving in for him, so I guess we'll cross him off, much like I'm having to do with Baturina. And I know I said I wouldn't mention him again, but look at that final fee, people, for Baturina. 17 million guaranteed paid in 5 years, plus 5 million add-ons. Oh my God. To miss out on something like that. It hurts. I'm not going to lie. It hurts. But speaking of our rivals, and I find, again, I've been consistent with this, so I have to say it again. The Brentford job is available. Thomas Frank is, I think he's taking over at Tottenham pretty much as I record this. But Brentford have got a short list of candidates, and one of the candidates on their list is Scott Parker. Now, there's a few things going on at Burnley. CJ Egan-Riley is apparently going to Marseille. I don't know if Josh Brownhill signed a new contract. And also James Trafford, there's interest from not only Newcastle, but Chelsea as well. There's a whole lot of things going on there at Burnley, which is not ideal. And we're even seeing Sunderland where they've sold Joe Bellingham. But this one's interesting for me. Scott Parker also finished with 100 points last year, but finished second. and he's on the shortlist for Brentford. And I just asked the question, perception. I've always said perception is reality, and our coach doesn't get linked with any post. He hasn't been linked with one post where we've seen, Kieran McKenna linked with Man United last year. Maresca we saw go to Chelsea and everything else, but Farke just doesn't get linked to any of these posts. But Scott Parker is apparently seen by Brentford as a transition from Thomas Frank, which is incredible to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's one of those. We'll have to wait and see if Burnley, allow him to leave, or if Brentford want permission to speak to Scott Parker. But the fact that he's on the shortlist is interesting. And that's all. That's all I'll say. It's very interesting, isn't it? But yeah, we'll see what's going on with them. But we still got to do moves. We've still got to make moves. We've got to get our house in order to compete and survive this season. You know what I mean? We've got to survive, and we need to get signings in, not straight away. The window doesn't reopen till Monday, but yeah, we know that it's going to be slow probably until July 1st. But hopefully, with the sale of Joseph and maybe a couple of others, we can probably get some in to ease it against this current period of PSR. But who knows at this stage? Who knows? All I do know is that work will be going on behind the scenes, and we just got to be patient at this point. But that is it for the video. Listen, people. I'm glad that you're enjoying these transfer talks. For the people that get it, it's news, rumors, and everything else in between. For others, just don't click the video and write paragraphs about, can you wait until we've actually signed someone? That's not what it says in the title, people. So save yourself the typing space and save me from reading it. But listen, people, like the video before you go. Big up to all subscribers of mine, and especially the members. Thank you for that support. It goes a long way. If you want to become a member of the channel, the link is in the description. I will see you in the next one, people. Peace out.